One Piece chapter 1156 has just released, and in it, one of the strongest pirates of all time, Rox D. Xebec, has stated that he is going after two of the strongest devil fruits in the entire verse, and in this video I'm going to tell you exactly what those two devil fruits are. You heard me, there's actually an insane amount of information and hints that Oda has given us in the past, not only in the Elbaf arc, but all the way back to God Valley and Wano, that could clue us in on the identity of the two devil fruits that Rox is looking for. And of course, because Rox is one of the strongest pirates of all time with one of the craziest goals of all time, to defeat Imu and take down the world government, it is not a stretch to say that after all of the hints that Oda has given us about these two devil fruits, that they are the two strongest devil fruits of all time. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you could give it a like, and if you want to keep up with weekly Elbaf chapter reviews, make sure to subscribe. So let's jump straight into the first devil fruit that Rox is after here. There is way less mystery surrounding this devil fruit because we know it is the legendary fruit on Elbaf, considering Rox says that it is in Harold's possession. We know that there's a legendary devil fruit passed on throughout the royal heritage of Elbaf. We know that Loki, the son of Harold, allegedly stole this devil fruit and ate it on the day that Harold was murdered. And considering all the hype that the citizens of Elbaf were giving this devil fruit, it makes absolutely perfect sense that Rox himself was after this devil fruit because he is one of the strongest pirates of all time with such an insane goal. But what exactly is this devil fruit? Well, actually there is two lines of dialogue in this chapter that clue us in a tiny bit on what the properties of this devil fruit could be, so let's get into those. The first line of dialogue is what Rox says when he first mentions who has this fruit, saying that the fruit will only show its true powers if Harold eats it. So immediately this adds context to this fruit being the legendary fruit passed down through Elbaf, because it seems like its true power can only be realized by giants, or at least someone who's from or on Elbaf. And the second line of dialogue in this chapter that hints to us what the properties of this devil fruit could be is the members of the Rox Pirates talking about if they had access to this devil fruit, they'd need to go find the hidden giants frozen in ice, the Galela giants that were mentioned a few chapters ago, in order to make full use of it. If you don't remember what this Galela legend is, a quick recap. Allegedly, there's a group of giants who were insane shipwrights, which is exactly why in Water 7 the shipwright area is called the Galela Works. And these giants were part of the faction of the Ancient Kingdom from the Void Century and were very likely the greatest shipbuilders of all time. So what do these two lines of dialogue have in common for the first devil fruit we're trying to identify here? Well, if only Harold can draw out its true power, and they need giant shipwrights in order to make something giant for it to be used, obviously this devil fruit has to do something with being a giant, or something on a very large scale. Immediately my first guess was something like the giant fruit. However, we know this is not true for two reasons. You might think the reason Loki is so gigantic compared to the other giants in the story is because that this fruit is the giant fruit, but actually we see that Loki, from a child's age, was a monstrous sized giant compared to the rest of Elbaf, and this was before he had eaten this legendary devil fruit. Not only that, San Juan Wolf, the impaled down inmate who's on Blackbeard's crew, also has the gigantification fruit, so I feel like this is sort of a territory that can't really be touched. So it can't be a giant fruit. But we still have these two lines of dialogue that give us criteria that it has to do something with giants, right? If only Harold can utilize this devil fruit perfectly, and we need giant shipwrights in order to make this devil fruit work. Well, what if we step back and broaden our scope a little bit? Maybe the fact that Harold is a giant and these are giant shipwrights is not actually what Rox is talking about here, and just the fact that they need the help from giants is actually what he's talking about. It gives an entire new meaning. You might not understand what I'm saying, but I'm just gonna cut to the chase and then explain after I get this bombshell out of the way. I think this fruit that Rox is talking about, and also the legendary fruit that is passed on through the heritage of Elbaf, is some sort of giant battleship or giant long-range weapon devil fruit. I know, crazy, but hear me out. First, how does this fill the criteria that Rox establishes in this chapter? Well, 1, Harold would only be able to utilize the full power of this devil fruit because of his lineage as a giant. He'd be able to operate such a magnificent weapon because of his size. And also, in order to carry or utilize this devil fruit effectively, you would need gigantic shipwrights to build a giant ship to make it mobile. I know that still probably sounds crazy and a stretch, but there's two more pieces of evidence to support this theory. The first is that we know Rox's goal is to tear down Marijoa, and what better way to do this than finding a devil fruit that can attack the Holy Land at an extremely long range. Rox already got to the Holy Land. In fact, he already got all the way to the garden room and went face to face with Imu. Who's to say he couldn't do it again? Especially now with this giant crew, there's no reason why Rox would need 2 devil fruits. He already has all the strength he needs in order to stomp up the stairs and go knock on Imu's door once again. But something in this encounter scared Rox. Like I said, he got all the way to go face to face with Emu, and instead of realizing his goal and taking over the world right there, he left. He straight up dipped. There is something about Emu and the garden room that is off that makes me feel like Rox does not want to go in there again. So what better way to attack the Holy Land than with the Devil Fruit that is created as an extremely long-range weapon or a battleship fruit? And the last and perhaps most compelling piece of evidence towards this theory is what Loki tells Luffy he'll reward him for if he goes to get the keys for his handcuffs. Loki tells Luffy that he'll explain everything about Shanks' relationship with Elbaf to Luffy if Luffy goes to get Loki's handcuffs, but the first thing Loki offers to Luffy is that he'll go and annihilate any crew on the sea. Do you know how ridiculously insane that is? For Loki to that confidently say, if Luffy does what he wants, Loki would go and destroy any pirate crew on the entire sea. I think this is really fitting for my theory, considering Loki has the ancient devil fruit that Rox is talking about here. If it is a long-range weapon or some sort of battleship weapon, he would be able to do exactly what he's talking about here, and it would line up with everything that Rox wanted. Now for the second devil fruit, we have a lot less to go on here, but there is still previous evidence in the story as to what these devil fruits are, and there are 4 possibilities that I want to posit. And the first 2 fruits go hand in hand. The 2 fruits that we know for a fact that were present on God Valley were Kaido's Koi Koi fruit model dragon and Kuma's Paw Paw fruit. Because of the events at God Valley through the lens of Kuma's flashback, we know that the reason Rox and Roger immediately sieged God Valley was because these fruits were stolen from Pirate Island, meaning they were originally in Rox's possession. So the timeline would go, in this chapter, we see that Rox says he wants 2 devil fruits. Flash forward to the God Valley flashback, the world government has stolen devil fruits from Rox's hideout and is using them as prizes for the God Valley hunting game. It would just make sense that one of the 2 fruits that Rox wanted are the fruits that we see get stolen from him in the future, either Kaido's fruit or Kuma's fruit. Of the 2, I'm going to go ahead and say that Kaido's fruit is a much more likely possibility, considering it would be insane for Rox's plan to attack the Holy Land. Not only could he fly all the way to the top of the Grand Line, he could just shoot borrowed breaths all the way at Marijoa. But I do think these fruits are actually too low caliber, which is crazy to say considering these fruits are insane in their own right, for what Rox is aiming for. And I think there is an even better choice for what Rox was looking for, and this fruit may have also been present at God Valley. In the chaos of the fight at God Valley during the Celestial Dragons hunting game, we see empty treasure chests, meaning that the devil fruit prizes that the Celestial Dragons had put together for this contest may have potentially already been eaten. So that leaves us with this criteria. Is there a fruit that currently exists in the world that would make Rox's siege of Marijoa much easier for him that one of the characters on God Valley possessed in the future of the story? Well, you may have already put it together. I think the third possibility for the fruit that Rox is talking about here is the Quake Quake fruit, the fruit that Whitebeard possessed in his prime. Think about it. Having access to the Quake Quake fruit would be insane for Rox, as again, he'd be able to launch large magnitude attacks on Marijoa and potentially even break the red line. The fruit's power to destroy the world totally fits the bill with Rox's personality, and I could absolutely see Rox getting access to this fruit, holding onto it on Pirate Island, it getting stolen by the world government for the world government hunting game, and then the chest that we see empty during Kuma's flashback is because Whitebeard ate this fruit after they recovered it. We also know that there was probably a huge falling out between Whitebeard and Rox on God Valley, where Whitebeard essentially betrays Rox and maybe even goes to Roger's side to help defeat Rox. Part of this betrayal or fracturing of ideals could be because Whitebeard ate this fruit and Rox really wanted it to destroy the Holy Land, and his subordinate took it and ate it right in front of his eyes. We also do not see Whitebeard use the Quake Quake fruit a single time before God Valley, or even during God Valley yet, so I think it's very possible that this is where he gained access to this fruit. And the last possibility, the one with the least evidence for the context of the flashback happening right now, but the one that would perhaps be the most thematic for the story, the Dark Dark fruit, Blackbeard's fruit. I'm not sure I really need to explain this one in too much depth. It would obviously make sense that if the fruit that Blackbeard, Rox's son, was aiming after for all this time was the exact same fruit that his father was aiming after, Blackbeard obviously knew there was immense power in the Dark Dark fruit, which is why he hunted it down so much. And Rox, of course, is sort of similar to his son, so I could totally see Rox being after this fruit just like his son was. However, if you ask me amongst the 4 fruits that I just listed, what is the most possible, I would say the Quake fruit. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep up with theories as Elbaf continues to go forward, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think these legendary devil fruits are. A man such as Rox stating that he wants 2 devil fruits is nothing to interpret casually. I'm really curious what you guys think the 2 devil fruits are he was talking about in this panel are. And I also think it's possible that this could be the first clue that Rox was also able to possess 2 devil fruits just like his son, but that's a story for another video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.